Hi, this is Rob Tan, and this is a demo of our Hack Week project with the tongue-in-cheek title, Make JCard Scalable Again. As many of you know, JCard runs on top of MySQL, and MySQL was not built for massive scale. Hence, we all know too well the pain points we face today with MySQL. So for Hack Week, we decided to try running JCard on an alternative database called Single Store. Now, for those of you who have not heard of Single Store, it is a distributed relational database, horizontally scalable, and supports sharding out of the box. So why did we choose Single Store over other alternatives out there, such as CockroachDB or Spanner um, or DynamoDB, any of the other horizontally scalable databases? And given that we only have a week for Hack Week, um, we needed something that we thought may be reasonable in terms of making any code changes that needed to be made to make JCard work with the new database. And the reason why we chose Single Store was that Single Store is wire compatible with MySQL, unlike the other databases. So theoretically, JCard should be able to run on Single Store with minimal code changes. So let's get started by logging into the Single Store portal. And as you can see, I have created a JCard POC cluster. And it's very easy to create a cluster in Single Store. It is fully managed in the cloud. I chose the defaults for our POC. These are the different options that you have available for the different sizes. You can choose which cloud provider you want it to run on. And in this case, I've chosen AWS in the US East region. And because it is wire compatible with MySQL, it even uses the same MySQL tools to talk to the database. So in this case, this is the name of that server that we will connect to in Single Store. So as you can see, I have already created the JCard schema in Single Store. And this basically has all the tables that JCard requires. And I did this through running the DDL on Single Store. And these are the create tables from the JCard schema. I also seeded the database with the data required by JCard. So for example, I can look at the data that's currently in sysconfig. If I run that, first of all, I need to select the database, run it. Again. So you notice that these are the results of the query, and this is a view of the sysconfig table that's actually now in Single Store. So, and I also created users that will be required for JCard to talk to Single Store, and in this case, it's called the mswipe user, and granted it all the privileges. So the next step is to start JCard by pointing it to Single Store. And first thing to do is that I did was to modify mqpay.com. And you notice that mqpay.com, the line that I modified was I commented out this DB host, which was pointing to my local host, and now I'm pointing it to the single store URL. So this is the only change that I made. And then I restarted JCard, and we can look at that JCard is running by looking at process that it uses, Q2 to launch it. So you can see JCard is running on my local host on my laptop, but it's actually now talking to single store. So now I want to bring up Postman, and let's see if we can talk to JCard running on my local host. Yes, I can. It's running. And the first thing I want to do is to create a funding source. So I'm calling the post endpoint for creating a funding source. It's hitting localhost. And I'm going to prepend all my tokens with the word hack so I can easily look it up in the database. And I'm going to create the funding source. So notice that it created successfully. Now if we go back to the single store portal, get portal, let's select funding source, look at, and you notice that there's a row that's created now called hack funding source in our in that table, the funding source table. So the next thing we want to do is to create a user. And again, I'm going to put in token, create a user, and the user was successfully created. So we can go back and look at so I can just change this to card holder. So I'm going to select from card holder table, and you'll see that now I have my new row, hack my user token created. So the next thing I want to do is to create a card product. And again, I want to give it my token name. And I'm going to make this activation upon issue to be true. So the card will be activated when we create it. So then I'll create the card product. And it's created. The next thing is to create the card. And I'm going to use the card product that we just created. I'm going to give my token hack card test as the card, and the user token as the user we created earlier. So now the card is created, and we want to now create the GPA order to fund our account. For this user. and the funding source that we created earlier. Oh, sorry, it's underscore. So what was the funding source that we created? Hack program funding source. Underscores versus